Hi, I'm Preetika Mathew and I'm the editor of Watchtime India. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you love watches or have a passing interest in watches. Because watches can be fairly niche, especially if you're talking about high-end luxury watches. Luxury watches are actually the handiwork of many people who design, put the engineering together, who put the parts together, and who create these beautiful pieces by just using their hands. It's not like your regular watches that you wear on a daily basis. Your regular watch will cost X amount of money, and your luxury mechanical watches will cost 5x that amount probably, if not more. It'll definitely have about 5 to 6 zeros at the end of it. A luxury watch is not just a watch. I've always considered it to be the sort of heirloom that you pass on down the generations. It's something that you give to your kids, who maybe pass it on to their kids. It's a little bit like a piece of jewelry, but only it might not always be diamond studded. In this case, it represents hard work. It represents this mechanical engineering, this ingenuity of putting something together by hand. Lots of Swiss luxury watchmakers unveiled their new watches for the year. So I've come fresh off seeing what all is on offer, and what appealed to me, I want to present as sort of a handy guide to tell you guys what you could be looking at or how you could be approaching luxury watches the next time you decide to buy one. Some of you may already own one, so you can think of this as, oh, this could be the next step. I could maybe refer to this as a ready reckoner of when I decide to buy my next luxury watch. So so I'm going to give you a couple of pointers for that. And before I do that, I'm going to take a short detour to actually tell you a couple of watch trends that I found were really popular or kind of stood out in 2021, which is also kind of representative of where luxury watches could be heading, in which direction they could be heading in the coming year. Much like fashion, genderless fashion is the zeitgeist. Everybody's talking about binaries not being there, and it's no longer he or she, and there's so much in between. So watches are kind of been towing this line for, I would definitely say, for about 3 or 4 years now. The second watch trend that actually stood out for me was that, again, I think earlier there was a very clear distinction between dress watches, or what look like sporty watches, or basically watches by occasion, right? What you could wear to a black tie dinner versus what you could wear to a brunch. I think many watchmakers are doing is that they are actually offering the option of giving interchangeable straps. All you need to do is actually just remove the straps and replace them with different sorts of watches. Again, what specifically brands are offering. And that kind of changes the look and feel of the watch altogether. Hublot has been doing the one-click mechanism for years now, and it's worked really well for them. Panerai, Vacheron Constantin, Cartier, Roger Dubuis, all these brands this year are very obviously offering interchangeable straps on their watches, so that there is no distinction between watches by occasion. Wear it as you feel. I mean, that really is another thing about being emotional about watches. You should be able to wear it as and when you feel like. The third thing that actually stood out for me in this watch fair, which a little bit contentious, because I've always said that don't kowtow to fads in watchmaking or fads in when you're choosing a watch, and color often actually comes into it. But this year, what was really interesting was that a large number of watchmakers actually chose green. Even if you're interested in remotely interested in the world of watches, you stick to your classics, which is basically a gold or a silver or a black or a brown, and then blue comes in, and that's the extent of watchmakers of course have tried to do lots of colors, but mostly these 4 kind of colorways are what most people also tend to stick to. So I think luxury with a purpose, especially in today's day and age, can't be disengaged from the zeitgeist. By that I mean given 2020, right? Given everything that's happened, I think more and more luxury brands are waking up to the fact that luxury is not synonymous just with exclusivity. It can't be exclusive. It needs to stand for something that's deeper. It needs to stand for something that is more encapsulating of people. And once your brand finds that resonance in their product, in their service, where they can actually serve a greater good, that's where the idea of luxury with purpose actually steps in. So the first that I loved at the recently concluded fair was a Genderless Reverso e Brise Mechanica caliber 185 quadrat 50. It's a really long winding name, but it deserves this for long winding name because it's an absolute marvel. It's a marvel. A little bit about the history of the Reverso. So the Reverso was created in the 1930s actually for British polo players in India. So as the name suggests, Reverso, you can actually flip the case of the watch, take it out, flip it around and push it back in. So the actual face of the watch is then hidden. Reverso is one of my most favorite lines ever. I think maybe it's the India Connect. I find it fascinating. I haven't seen any other watchmaker do it because obviously it's such a distinct design as well, but nothing on those lines ever I've seen. If you enjoy a classic, then for that classic touch, I really enjoyed seeing the Vacheron Constantin Historiques American 1921. This was a watch, as the name suggests, was created in 1921. The birth of the line was in 1921, and it was created for America. But what is really cool about this watch, I think why it appeals to me really, is that it has a very vintage look, right? Obviously, it's very Art Deco, but also how the hour markers are placed. It's a cushion shaped case, but the hour markers are not placed as your normal how it is placed in your normal watch. It's got that vintage touch. That's why I think it's a perfect classic watch. Okay, so when you want to go with something that's tested, right? Now, Rolex as a brand is really, really loved. I mean, it's very, very popular and it's a lot of people's first choice when they actually buy a luxury watch. But the watch that I'm going to be picking today is Oyster Perpetual Explorer. Now, what happened with this watch was again, a little bit of history about the watch. It was actually how the birth of the watch happened was that the original watch was actually on the mission that accompanied Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary when they scaled Mount Everest. And based on the feedback of the mountaineers, the first watch was created and launched to the public. And since then, it's been a very popular watch. So many decades down, right? People still love the Oyster Perpetual Explorer. My next watch is a timepiece that actually truly stands for something. This is the Panerai Submersible E-Lab ID. Panerai, as a watchmaker for quite some time now, has been working in the sphere of ecology and sustainability. They are very committed to the environment. And this new timepiece that they created is actually 98.6% recycled based material by weight, which is the highest in the watch industry. In fact, the brand describes this piece as the watch with the highest percentage of recycled based material ever made. Okay, so my next watch, love it or hate it, you can't ignore it, and I chose to not ignore it because it truly, truly makes a statement in every sense of the word. This is the Hublot Big Bang Unico Yellow Magic. It's made with yellow ceramic, which is quite difficult to achieve. The color, the pigment in itself is quite difficult to achieve. If you remember, it is also kind of yellow is the Pantone color of the year. And now we're talking about a really big watch here. Like, it's thick. It's 42 mm, of course. It's not a 44, so it's not like massive. It's a 42 mm, but it's a big, thick watch. Okay, the final watch that I'm going to be picking today is something which, when I was seeing the presentation, it was so entertaining for me. This watch I call, you'd pick it if you wanted to be effortlessly cool. And believe it or not, the watch is actually called the Moser Pioneer Mega Cool. And the story behind the name of the watch is that when watchmakers were actually creating it and they saw what the finished product looked like, the first reaction that the team who saw it, their first reaction was, oh my God, this is mega cool. And they just went ahead and named the watch Mega Cool, which I think is really fun. You gotta not lose that sense of fun, right? The watchmaking world can get really serious, but the watch in itself is also obviously a very good looking watch. It looks really nice on the wrist. It's got something called the Fume dial, which is that it's bright right in the center, and as it degrades to the side, it gets darker and darker. Again, it's a green watch, but overall, it's a nice looking piece, and it delivers on its name. So those were my watches that I found really exciting out of all that has happened with the digital presentation of the new novelties that were recently launched. By no means is this an exhaustive guide. There were many, many more watches that just stood out for excellent, excellent craftsmanship. These are just my picks that I really enjoyed. But I'm hoping at the end of the day, this kind of gives you a direction of how you should be looking at luxury watches. What's the kind of craftsmanship? What is the kind of ideas, the kind of technicalities, engineering that goes behind behind it actually end up contributing to that really hefty price tag. You're paying for not just, watching or whatever, telling time. You're not paying for that. You're paying for a lot of emotions. You're paying for a lot of technical genius. And you're paying for a lot of beautiful design that comes out of these watchmakers' creativity.